I think it's music and everything, and I guess what I wanted to do was to replicate my journey through it, and I was very emotional through that. So I guess if you're feeling that, then mission accomplished, because you're feeling what I was feeling throughout the film.
Yeah, and I think the other theme that we get from the film is like it's very postmodern, right? Like there is no truth, right? Because two people can watch kind of the same situation and have completely opposite reactions. You know, you watch an interview with a politician, and one person says that guy's a complete idiot, and the other person says that guy's brilliant, right? And that's I think that a big theme. If you want to talk about that for a sec.
Yeah, well, I think it's. I think I was a little bit horrified by my experience through it, because the story that the media picked up, and I was complicit in that because I threw it up, and as I said in there, I turned the volume knobs up on the emotional kind of pressure points on that thing, which I think is a big thing that's happening in the media now. It's you want hits as much as telling the story. So I was complicit in setting this thing in motion, and then I saw the story that the media ran with, and it didn't really reflect my experience on the bus. It was a horrific experience on the bus, but I think speaking to the people who consume the media and would come up to me and talk to me about it, it was so far gone, their understanding of what happened compared to what I experienced on the bus. Maybe I wasn't super skilled at communicating why the French girl didn't feel much. But if you actually think about one thing I would have loved to have figured out how to communicate, but this is like my first film, so I'm no Werner Herzog. But I'm here and you're the red-faced man. I'm filming you, so it's like it's really, really close, and it's really, really magnified everything he said. And then you've got the French girl who's like at that wall, kind of, with layers and layers of friends in front of her, all willing to protect her. So it's hideous stuff that you're hearing. It's so horrible, and it's frightening, and everything like that. But I think if you're watching the video, it's not the same as the experience as being on the bus. And I just the truth of it all got so mixed up. I didn't even know which way was up anymore, and I think I was horrified by that experience. And seeing that makes me really reluctant to get it behind any shaming. Like I don't care what it is. Like it's like I don't know what the actual story is.
Well, and like you do a lot of YouTube videos, and like even when you're just doing something fun and being out there, like the trolling is just relentless.
Oh yeah. You see the darkest parts of human nature on YouTube threads, but. I think that was a reflection of the feeling that came towards the people that I shamed on the bus. And not only that, like the red-faced man, he needed to go away because he was threatening and all that sort of thing. But I think it was like a nuke as well, because like Hayden was bad. He smashed a window. He's a very deeply troubled human. But he wasn't actually racist throughout that. And now he's been dubbed as this super racist guy, and. He lives in Frankston, like socioeconomic bottom, and there's a lot of kind of racial tensions and things like that. So it affected his life in a really big way, and it was just cool just being able to speak to him after the film, and we're kind of strangely friends. He's like my favorite Facebook person. You can tell he's bipolar. You can see his swings on Facebook. Like this guy. I think managing his morality is the last thing we need to do. This guy's got some serious problems, and whatever race and all that sort of thing, it might not be high on his priority list.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting to see because the racial tensions are very unique to Australia.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're going through the exact same thing here in America. Sorry, it was a joke.
Oh, right. So we've got our own brand. Put it that way. You've got a very different brand here that I don't want to touch. I don't know what you guys are going through.
Speaking of jokes, and you have this really incredible self-awareness that I think, I've been kind of checking. It doesn't really come on the film, but when you kind of look into what you're doing, you're a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting that you didn't really address that in the film. But I think that that obviously comedians kind of look at the world in a different way.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But I think the way I did the film was I actually didn't want to do the film that much. We were talking to a network back home, and they wanted to do something with it, and an opportunity came up, and I threw a few ideas at them, and this is the one that they grabbed onto, and I was like, oh, holy shit, I don't know. First of all, I don't know if I'm comfortable, like I feel horrible about that, I don't know if I can tell that story. I don't have enough archival footage to tell it, like it was so much. But then, they pushed and prodded, and I went, all right, we'll give it a go. But I didn't want to cook it too much, because obviously I'm wearing a lot of hats in this film. Like I edited it and directed it, and I was in it, which was very difficult. But I didn't want to overcook it beforehand, so I didn't do anything. I got a friend who hadn't really been there for the story, who didn't know anything, and I was like, well, you're the audience then. I'll sit here, and I did the Skype thing through the camera and just said, hey, this is just going to be therapy. We'll just talk for a long time, and you ask me the questions that you just naturally want to ask, and I just imagine that that's what the audience would want to hear as well. So we spoke for hours and hours and hours, and after a while, I was discovering stuff. So it was just like this became the backbone of the film, which then I kind of painted in.
Yeah, and so it kind of said you're a bit kind of new to filmmaking.
Yeah.
This film premiered at Hot Docs.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the biggest documentary festivals in the world. What was that like?
It was amazing. I didn't even know this like whole festival thing existed. Like I was just a YouTube kid, so I didn't. Going to all these festivals is awesome. Like it's a big wide world. Like in Australia, we're kind of like a smaller industry, I guess, and there's opportunities, but they're mainly in like ABC or Screen Australia. So I thought that was the only opportunity out there in my kind of filmmaking worldview. And then you go to some place like Hot Docs and you're like, whoa, the world is big and there's opportunities around.
Larger
yeah. But but I'm here in Seattle as well. I was like, holy shit! Like this is. There's a community. There's a filmmaking community, and I didn't even know it existed. So thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys have some questions?
Yeah.
So where have you shown it besides like Toronto and here? And what's been the what have people said to you that you thought would change your ending, or it's just your ending just keeps going now?
Right. Yeah. Well, where was it? Like we screened it on ABC in Australia, so it went to television to start, and then it went to Toronto for Hot Docs, and all over like America, all these different places. We won an award at Pittsburgh Festival. It was Ed Couture or something. El Couture. That was cool. And Hot Springs, and I got to see Werner Herzog there, which was awesome, and just a few other places. And it's still traveling. Like I made this thing I finished making this thing like a year and a half ago or something like that. So that's great. But okay, so what are people? What's been the reaction? I think people don't agree with my ending, like for the most part. And I think it's fair enough. I don't know. I'm not even sure if I articulated my position properly because I was just figuring it out. So it's like putting it in there. But I think I'm still with it. Like I think nothing positive come. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything good though. And I just think nothing positive comes from revenge. And I've taken this position, and I want to stand in this position. And I think we're in it now. There's all this shaming going on, and all these. There's all this activism without an end. It's like this destructive activism, and I don't like it. And I think it's come from this experience. So no one, as you said before, what's made me change? No one's posed an argument that makes me lose the footing on my own position. So if you got something, I want it, because it'd be nice to agree with half of the audience. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So well. That's right. One thing I feel like is the greatest gift of the film, and it's fascinating to me that you were sort of thought of yourself as like a viral video maker, or you made a viral video. I mean, the opposite of a viral video is nuance. This is what this film is about. There is nuance, whether you agree with it or not.
Yeah.
Think about it, and it's a huge difference. nuances like showing the shades of something that we didn't usually think about. And I never thought about this, but like the difference here is between this citizen racism and just pent-up rage and whatever, and institutional racism. So like we have horrible videos where the police are doing terrible things. Those are different videos than this. And in those cases, there is something maybe productive.
Well, it's, hard to pass that out, isn't it? But I think you might have hit, that's really cool. Like, I'm going to keep that in the back pocket for the next time people grill me. That is really cool. Because there's power dynamics in this thing, and it's shifting. And then, so I noticed towards the end, and that's why I feel bad about it, those guys have no power. They've got mental problems, alcohol issues, like horrible men. Obviously, they got some issues they're dealing with, but no power, none. And even on that bus, I don't think they had power. I think like he was saying these things because he's a drunken guy on the bottom rung of society at that point, and it's like.
If you look at the full context, it's like actually heartwarming too, because it was you and all these other people who knew this was wrong.
Yeah.
She stood up for herself. It's an interesting thought because it's like, I think you need to keep updating where the power lies if you want to sit with these things right. Like I think we need a new morality for the web because we've got this cloud of humans that come and descend on someone and destroy them, and it's like, well, hang on, just because he's a white man being racist, 60s context maybe, but now we can destroy people. Like we're seriously powerful. So it's like, where does morality lie in that? And I don't know where it is. I was just trying to figure it out through this thing, but it is an interesting. I think it needs a lot more conversation. Jesus, there's a lot.
So when you're on the next bus, when the train stops and you're driving along, there's a red-faced man. You got your camera. And you hear the ladies in the back. And you say, okay, I'm going to make the film. You make the film. How are you going to deal with racism without doing revenge?
That's the one that stumps me every time. It's like, would you do it again? I don't know how to answer it. I just think that, again, I don't think I did anything wrong. I just didn't do anything good. Does that make sense? I didn't do anything. I don't think I did anything good. And I don't know if you saw the end, how the more, like, this thing became a meme back home. Like, if you ask someone what transport racism back, they'll know immediately what's going on. So it's like, because I work for the news as well. I do some editing and camera work, and I kind of know how that system works. And it's like, it's a mechanism. So once something breaks big, then they just want to replicate it. It becomes a franchise. And so there was this like little tacit conspiracy between people with cameras and the news networks that anytime any of these things would happen, then they'd send the thing to them and they get to tell their friends, I'm the guy who did the thing. And then it happened again and again and again and again. And so I've got a vested interest in this. So I looked at all these videos, and you get the 30 seconds on the news, but then if you look either side of that 30 seconds, there's like 4 minutes of footage, and all of a sudden the whole morality of the situation becomes a little bit more grey. It's like you're attacking someone when you're filming them like that. And then some of these films, there's like 4 or 5 different people all filming, and then there's this person having a mental breakdown who isn't stable to start with, probably drunk, low socioeconomic, drug addicted, and this is attacking them like 4 or 5 people. And it's like, you don't get that nuance in the news. Like you're saying viral, like the news is like, they're trying to make viral videos themselves. So I'm just looking at all this and going, well, how do I? There's something askew here, and it's not the story that everyone's getting is racism's getting crushed, and it's like, oh, no, I don't think so. I think anything positive.
You're the messenger.
Yeah, don't shoot me. Quit shooting me.
We're just going to do one more quick question just back here, and then we're going to, don't worry, Mike's not going anywhere. He's going to be hanging out, drinking some beer. We're going to have a party, so we're going to have plenty of time to ask him more questions. But go ahead, just.
I think that choice of word, that choice of phrase, don't shoot me, is very apropos, because it's like, what you're hitting on is the fact that these have become kind of a weapon of self-defense.
Yeah.
And as somebody who grew up with these coming to prevalence and becoming actual things, it got to a point, you know, where a lot of my friends were all like immigrants, ethnic minorities, racial minorities and stuff, and we're also like activists. We might go out and protest, a lot of us are filmmakers, and it's like, you know, have your phone ready, have your camera ready if like somebody, if a like group, if a violent counter group comes up, be shooting footage. If there's abuse of power by the police, be shooting footage. Have the document as a tool to use. But then when you reach like the person-to-person level, like somebody who is just a racist on the street, you know, you have this powerful tool, and sure, it's not a gun, but you know, you're using it to try to defend yourself. But how do you think there's any way, besides just trying to think through it, do you think we're any closer to figuring out a way to realize where's the line? Where can I use this as a deterrent and not use it to wreck somebody else's life?
Because it's good as well, right? Like, but I think that that's why I like that I made this film. It's kind of, I guess, just balancing. Like, it's just balancing it out a little bit, because I think that we only get the good stories of, like, you know, showing, you know, truth to power or whatever. But it's not that. It's also bad. So as long as we can, I think we've got to actually look at both sides and then measure them up. And are we any closer? I don't know. We've all got to figure this out as humans. Like, I think there's a lot we've got to figure out right now in terms of how tech's getting involved with morality. Like, we've got to figure out a new morality. But and yeah, I don't have any answers. I just made a film.
Cool. Well, thanks so much. Yeah.